are engineer from background first. You did your
Yeah.
BTech from Aligarh, basically
Yeah.
Aligarh Muslim University, a common alma mater for both of us.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then you did your MBA from IIM Indore, I think,
Yes, I am in the
and presently
2013. I thought.
2013, and presently working for e-commerce in Snapdeal.
Yeah. Yes. Correct.
So
Correct.
I can understand the hectic nature of your job, and there is a lot
Yes.
of responsibilities and the moment you are working there. But
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
come a passion for history and heritage developed? Can you please share a few thoughts on that?
Okay. The thing is, I had an interest in history even in school, but that interest was very casual. Still, like from very young age, I had books on medieval history, especially on Mughals. I was fascinated with them, but that interest and that reading was very casual and very, superficial. It never went beyond the first level of interest. And it continued till MBA, like till 2013-14. The
Mhm.
interest remained the same for those years. It all changed actually when I moved to Delhi in 2015 Jan, when I came to Delhi. And actually, the interest then also was not in heritage history per se. It was more in cuisines and street food and everything. So it actually started with street food, and I started going out a lot to Shahjahanabad, which we call Purani Delhi, and so I will be switching between Hindi and English if you are okay
Yes, 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 yes.
during my.
Definitely,
हाँ
definitely,
हाँ हाँ.
definitely.
तो वो कहते हैं ना, गलियों की खाक छानता था मैं,
जी.
लुकिंग फॉर डिफरेंट काइंड, निहारी ढूंढता फिर रहा हूँ, और अलग अलग तरीके के कबाब ढूंढता फिर रहा हूँ, और चाट ढूंढती फिर रहा हूँ, और मिठाइयाँ ढूंढते फिर रहा हूँ. तो उस टाइम पे आई यूज टू कम अक्रॉस दी ऑल ऑफ दीज पुरानी मस्जिद, जैन मंदिर, हवेली फसाड्स, देयर वर चर्चेज, देयर इज गुरुद्वारा सीसगंज, एंड अराउंड, एंड आई यूज टू पास बाय देम ऑल द टाइम. और हमेशा ये था कि भाई ये सब है, बट इनको छोड़ा छोड़ा हुआ था क्योंकि खाने पे ही ज्यादा फोकस था.
बिल्कुल.
देन आई स्टार्टेड रीडिंग अ लॉट ऑफ बुक्स ऑन cuisines also. Now if you read book on history of cuisine, you also have to read about the history of the place. And
Yes,
when you read
exactly.
about the history of the place, then that interest in history of Shahjahanabad and the history of Delhi started,
Yes.
started getting created in my mind.
Yes.
Acha, then social media also played a big role. People like Rana Safi ma'am, Swapna Little ma'am used to post extensively on social media stories of monuments, stories
Yes.
of heritage, and thankfully all their posts were public.
Yes.
And they didn't know me. I was not in the friend list, but I used to stalk their profiles to read these stories that they used to post about. So all this combined led to a point in 2018 when I was bored with exploring food, and I just went to Red Fort on January 1, 2018. And I just went there, 5 ghante I just kept on exploring Red Fort. And that was the moment where it turned. And after that I went to Qutub Complex and Humayun Tomb, and it just shot up from there. The interest just went exponentially up from there. And hence now it's like an obsession, a passion, something which I think about all the time. So it has come a long way in the last 5 years.
So definitely in last 5 years you have done a great job, and you have explored. In fact, I could like to add here, just culinary heritage is also a part of a heritage, because
Absolutely.
it's an amalgamation of the cultures. People used to migrate from one place to other place. एक जगह से दूसरी जगह लोग मुंतकिल होते रहते हैं, अपने कल्चर साथ लाते हैं, लोकल कल्चर से ब्लेंड होते हैं, और इसी तरह से नए कल्चर इवॉल्व होते हैं. तो वो भी हमारे हेरिटेज का एक हिस्सा है. तो जैसे हम बात करते हैं जब हेरिटेज की, तो इट हैज अ वेरी ब्रॉड हॉरिजन्स. टेंजिबल हेरिटेज एक टर्म यूज किया जाता है, इनटेंजिबल हेरिटेज यूज किया जाता है, कि जो लैंडस्केप्स हैं जहां हम ढूंढ सकते हैं. मॉन्यूमेंटल हेरिटेज इनफैक्ट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ अ टेंजिबल हेरिटेज वेयर यू कैन फिजिकली विजिट, where you can see. And the other part, socio-cultural heritage, is a part of intangible, where the stories come from the form of societies and cultures. So how specifically your love with the monuments started? Because your larger work belonged to the monuments, and especially the monuments that is other than listed monuments or something like iconic ones. So you shed the light on the one that has lost their glory, that has been buried with the time, usually in the places where everybody could not visit.
Exactly. So the thing is, if I talk about my journey, it actually started with a tangible part of heritage, which was cuisines. And tangible part of heritage, you get cuisines, manuscripts, paintings, monuments. Now the thing is, I have always been, even now I am an amateur in this field. I am an outsider from this field. For an amateur, for an outsider, for whom it's just a starting stage, monuments was something which was far more accessible as compared to, say, manuscripts, as compared to, say, paintings. You know, paintings are mostly found in Bahar ke museums. If you want to read about Mughal miniature paintings, you have to buy these expensive coffee table books. But when you come to monuments, like cuisines, it has still been democratized a lot. It is in the mainstream. The literature is there in the mainstream. People are conducting walks everywhere. So for a amateur like me, for somebody who was not an expert, accessing knowledge, accessing literature on monuments was the most easiest part. And I just grabbed it with both hands, and it actually became a virtuous cycle. I read about monuments and I went out to explore. Then I came back and read something more about them. Then I went back to explore. So it became a virtuous cycle with monuments. Whereas when you talk about intangible part of heritage, like rituals, like language, like traditions, I feel that it's a very sad, at least in India, I don't know about outside, that all this tradition, all this part of heritage is not documented well enough. It's not there in the public space. The manuscripts, if you want to access, they are not there. So if you want enough people interested in any part of heritage, you have to democratize and you have to make it reach the mainstream. So for me also, the journey was about what all I can access easily, and I can, read, and I can then research and explore. So hence it started from monuments for me, and it just
so that's how your interest goes on, and it really come up in a shape. So how did this idea of City Tales came in? And really City Tales has doing a great job, and in a very short span of time, I could say there are handles that are doing a work from more than 1 decade. But in fact, on social media, especially on Instagram and Facebook, it's really doing a marvelous job and sharing a lot of good stuff with the good research and with good stories and good pictures. Even most of the time, pictures were owned by City Tales, either by somebody else with a permission or your own clicks, your own explorations. So how did this idea came up in the shape, and really how did it really goes on?
See, the thing is, before I started City Tales, I was writing about monuments on my social media for around 1.5 years. So people kept on suggesting also, and I was also thinking ki writing on my own timeline, all what I was writing, got lost between all my other political posts and just sharing memes or other personal updates that I used to give. So I felt the need, and people also suggested me to document it all in one place. So if one wants to read them and go through them, they don't have to go through every other post that I write about. So basically the idea came from there. And also I realized with time that the biggest high that came with exploring monuments was when I could share that knowledge with someone and find people. Like I found you, I found Sufyan, I found so many other people who were interested in heritage. But there was also a world out there who I was not able to access to. And to reach that world, writing on your own timeline doesn't work. Because the way to it is like sending a friend request and things. But liking a page is much more easier. A page is has a much more wider reach. People of similar interests all concentrate on one page. So I felt that to reach a like-minded audience with whom I can share my interests and share my stories, a page would work best. And Alhamdulillah, in the last 1 year or so, it has reached around 35,000 followers. So
really, that's a big success.
That action has, decision has worked wonders for me. Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
And Ramin, in your explorations, when we came across and when we see the post of City Tales, it has a very wider landscapes from the small towns and the villages of Haryana your
yes,
post moved around to Gujarat, your post moved around to Bengal, and especially the smaller places of Uttar Pradesh or some
yes,
corners of NCR that has been
yes,
forgotten with the time, or the
yes,
ruined monuments have been lost or faded from the memories of the people. So, how
yes,
did
yes,
you manage to get such a wider landscape in the process of your explorations, especially?
yes, yes. See, so actually, when I started it in 2018, I was the obsession grew every passing week of exploring these monuments, and eventually by end of 2018, I realized I had explored almost all of Delhi. So Delhi was more or less done and dusted with, and the interest was still there, and I didn't know what else to do. So hence the need to move out of Delhi and the
Mm.
need to share more stories from which were not of Delhi, because I also felt that Delhi had whatever be it, Delhi had a lot of variety of architecture, but then still it's one city. So it started from going to a much wider landscape, and then it started. Then I went to Haryana, and Haryana is like a treasure house of monuments which have been left to rot, and it has all of these places which have become a cattle barn, which have become a garbage dump, which has become a home. All these heritage monuments. So Haryana was a major motivational reason to then further branch out from Delhi, NCR, and Haryana. So then when so it also helped, having a lot of books also helped. Used to research extensively on Amazon to find about architecture and monuments of Gujarat, Bengal, and other places. It started with Haryana, then I read about Gujarat and Ahmedabad and Surat, and then I went there and explored. And to tell you honestly, it actually opened vistas for me, because the way heritage is interacts with people of Ahmedabad, and the way people heritage interacts with people of Haryana was like on two different ends of a scale. So while people of Ahmedabad are very passionate and aware about their heritage, it's so strange and it's so amazing that when the foundation stone of Ahmedabad was laid, it was laid in a bastion which was called Manik Burj. That was the
Mhm.
first bastion of the fortification of Ahmedabad,
Mm.
and that bastion still survives to this day after 500 years. And amazingly, the first Ahmedabadis call their colonies pols, pols.
Yeah,
They are
Paul.
like societies which are like worlds within themselves. So the first pole that was established in Ahmedabad post the founding of city was Muhuratni Pole, and Muhuratni Pole still exists today.
Oh,
So
really?
it on
That's
one,
great.
yeah, on one end, this was Ahmedabad. All the masjids of Ahmedabad are still Bahal. People still offer namaz in them, and they have also retained their original architecture also. There are so many temples from bygone eras which still survive. There are Baulis. There are Ahmedabad ka first stock exchange, which was India's second stock exchange, still is maintained in tip-top condition from
And
outside.
and and what
So
about Surat?
Surat also, there are so many Baulis there. There is a temple there which was established in the reign of Aurangzeb, which had these original Burmese teak wood pillars. Surat, in those Burmese teak wood pillars still survive
Really? That's
after
great.
500 years. There are Havelis with these Burmese teak wood columns and brackets. Those also still survive. 500-year-old Havelis still survive in Surat. So on one end there was Surat and there was Ahmedabad, and on another end we had Haryana, where it's like a totally different world out there. You go to a small place, and you will find a mosque which is like Lodi era mosque, which is like 500 to 600 years old. But today, usme you will find chimgadars, you will find all these shrubs growing, you will find people वो गोबर के जो वो होते हैं ना,
उपला
क्या बोलते
बोलते
हैं
हैं उनको,
उन्हें?
हम नॉर्थ इंडिया में उसको
हाँ,
काव डंग के जो दैट राउंड शेप दैट इज नोन एज उपला.
हाँ, उपला, तो वो उसको
या.
ना, वो जो आर्च नीशेस होती हैं जो फसाड की, उसमें वो उपले लगाते हैं टू उनको जो भी
Just to
करने के
dry
लिए,
them off, just to dry them off,
हाँ,
just to prepare
तो
it
वो
as a dry
तो
them off.
उन टूम्स में उपले लगे हुए होते हैं टू ड्राई देम ऑफ। तो
Yeah.
उस उतना उतना डिफरेंस है बिटवीन हरियाणा एंड गुजरात। सो एंड हेंस अब बिकॉज ये सब देख लिया तो अगेन माइंड अगेन खुल गया कि भाई अगर ये सब है तो और भी कुछ है, बहुत कुछ है इंडिया में। तो देन इट्स लाइक इट हैज बीन लाइक अ वर्चुअस साइकिल, यू जस्ट स्टार्ट फ्रॉम वन प्लेस एंड यू मूव एंड यू मूव एंड यू मूव। तो हेंस इट हैज बीन अ वेरी आई ओपनिंग एक्सपीरियंस फॉर मी।
So, Ramin, just share some stories, very stories from which you connected from Haryana. In fact, the rural explorations of Haryana is where you have explored. Even I saw some of the monuments you explored for the first time. There
Yes,
was a
yes, yes.
Baoli, I think, very old Baoli. It
In-
was hidden in the rice fields or somewhere in the thrash.
Yes.
And also some
Yes.
other explorations of Mewat, especially, and some of the corners
Okay.
from where the population has been displaced to Pakistan during partition, and that has been completely changed. The landscapes
Oh.
changed, but monuments still remain there.
Exactly. So, just for the benefit of the viewers here, so with Haryana and Punjab, a dramatic shift in demography happened in partition age, because these places were close to Pakistan. Muslims from these areas moved en masse to Pakistan during the partition era, and hence all the masjids, all the Jama masjids of these places, all they just became viran. They just became abandoned in a stroke of 1 year.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, I will give some examples of different places of Haryana. For example, the Jama Masjid of Sonipat, it would have been definitely been abandoned for decades altogether. So today, since Sonipat, whatever Muslim community that Sonipat has are migrants from probably UP and Bihar who have come there for job purposes or for other purposes. But they are not the original inhabitants, the original families of Haryana and Punjab. So what happened was, these masjids were abandoned for ages. And then, so the Jama Masjid of Sonipat, the Jama Masjid of Farrukh Nagar, these four places has become something else. For example, the Jama Masjid of Bahadurgarh has become Bal Bajrang Mandir. The Jama Masjid of Sonipat has become another mandir. The Jama Masjid of Farrukh Nagar has become a Gurudwara as well as a mandir. So, so this is one aspect. Other than that, also, I have come across tombs. I have come across Chhatri. So, Chhatri is a Hindu version of a tomb. A Chhatri is established by someone in memory of a Hindu who has passed away. So, it is established there. तो अस्थियां तो वहां दी जाती हैं, बट मेमोरी प्रिजर्व रखने के लिए छतरी बनाई जाती है। तो छतरी अब छतरी बन गई। नाउ उस बंदे की फैमिली विद कमिंग टाइम्स हैज मूव्ड ऑन टू डिफरेंट प्लेसेस। सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि उस बंदे की फैमिली का कोई बचा नहीं उस छतरी का ख्याल रखने के लिए। तो जो छतरी है दे बिकम अबैंडन्ड। ऐसे ही टूम्स के साथ हुआ है, बिकॉज मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी वाज नो लॉन्गर लिविंग देयर, and even Muslims who live there who have no connection with the person who is buried in that tomb, they just reuse that tomb for different places. For example, in Sona, the Jama Masjid of Sona belongs to the age of Lodis. It is that old. वो मस्जिद तो is still functioning. उस मस्जिद के बगल में there is a tomb, a big tomb. So the people the people who live in the masjid, who take care of the masjid, they have made a girls hostel in that tomb, because उनके पास कोई और रहने का था नहीं, तो उस tomb में उन्होंने गर्ल्स का हॉस्टल बना दिया है। सोना तो is like a treasure trove of monuments.
Ramin, I'm sorry. Ramin, I'm sorry for interrupting. There is some internet issues, so your picture become hazy. If I could disconnect you.
Is it fine?
Yes, it's completely clear.
So there are so many interesting monuments there which have become something else. So in Sona there is the Dargah and Masjid of Najmul Haq. So I have been told that Najmul Haq was related to Sir Syed Ahmad Khan as well. And he, in fact, I have read it that he even visited this tomb and mosque complex, and it's a beautiful masjid, and it has all calligraphy written on all its walls. But that masjid today is local government school. तो उस मस्जिद को बोलते भी मस्जिद स्कूल है वो लोग।
Ramin, again, sorry, just feedback came from audience. Yes, Mosque of India, I think Altamash Bhai says that he is not able to hear you. Altamash Bhai, what you need to do, just refresh your Instagram because I rejoined Ramin again. So might be you are getting a pause in the voice. So what you have to do, just refresh yourself at your end. Just leave the session and rejoin again. You will able to hear us because now voice and everything is clear. Sorry, Ramin, for interruption.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So the locals in Sona call it Masjid School because it was a masjid of Lodi era masjid, and now it has become a school. It is a part. It is like a local government school. Is it fine?
Yes, yes, yes. It's completely clear.
So there are so many interesting monuments there which have become something else. So in Sona there is the Dargah and Masjid of Najmul Haq. So I have been told that Najmul Haq was related to Sir Syed Ahmad Khan as well. And he, in fact, I have read it that he even visited this tomb and mosque complex, and it's a beautiful masjid, and it has all calligraphy written on all its walls. But that masjid today is local government school. तो उस मस्जिद को बोलते भी मस्जिद स्कूल है वो लोग.
Ramin, again, sorry, just feedback came from audience. Yes, Mosque of India, I think Altamash Bhai says that he is not able to hear you. Altamash Bhai, what you need to do, just refresh your Instagram because I rejoined Ramin again. So might be you are getting a pause in the voice. So what you have to do, just refresh yourself at your end. Just leave the session and rejoin again. You will able to hear us because now voice and everything is clear. Sorry, Ramin, for interruption.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So the locals in Sona call it Masjid School because it was a masjid of Lodi era masjid, and now it has become a school. It is like a local government school. So the tomb का जो gateway है, it has become the staff room of teachers. जो tomb itself है, that has become the canteen of the school students. और जो mosque है, that has become the classroom for the students.
So that's a functional school.
It's a functional heritage school of those students. And so another interesting story comes from Badshahpur. So Badshahpur today falls in in Gurgaon itself. It was separate from Gurgaon, and it used to be a part of the Jagir of Begum Samru.
Begum Samru. Yes.
And Begum Samru, and Begum Samru established a fort there. So now Begum Samru has passed away. No one is taking care of that fort. So a colony comes up in that fort, and that colony is called as Kile Wali colony or something.
Kile Wali Basti or something like that.
Something like that. Now the irony today is that colony has digested the whole fort. So now the colony still exists. आज किले वाली कॉलोनी है, बट वो किला नहीं एग्जिस्ट करता. उस किले का एक बैस्टियन एग्जिस्ट करता है बस. वो बैस्टियन में जो वो कूड़े के ढेर पे रह गया है वो. तो एक ये स्टोरी ऐसी है. दूसरा पलवल में जाओ. पलवल इज अ प्लेस वेयर महात्मा गांधी वाज अरेस्टेड फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम बाय ब्रिटिश व्हेन ही स्टार्टेड हिज इंडिपेंडेंस स्ट्रगल्स. तो वो उस स्पॉट को दे हैव प्रिजर्व्ड प्रॉपर्ली. So Palwal itself has a lot of monuments. They had a sarai which was called Sarai Pukhta. Pukhta, I guess, means Purani.
Pukhta means something. No. Pukhta means something that is made up of bricks, a solid structure. Pukhta and kacha.
Solid.
Pukhta means very solid or something like Urdu word. Yes.
So it was called Pukhta Sarai. Sarai Pukhta. Now Sarai Pukhta today has two remaining gateways. और उन gateways के अंदर सुलभ शौचालय functions right now. You move to another village which is called the village itself is called Sarai. Yes. Now that Sarai was established in the reign of Aurangzeb, and it was called Sarai Lashkarabad because it was a place where the Lashkar, the army used to stay.
Yes, camps and the army.
Yeah, it was a camp. So that a whole village exists inside that Sarai. They are living inside that Sarai. So original bastion, original inscription of that sarai still survives, but that sarai is in a pathetic state. Nobody is taking care of that sarai. You talked about Mewat. Mewat is like some treasure trove of monuments. You go to Mewat, just a context about Mewat. If I can talk about a little bit
sure,
about
sure.
the history of Mewat.
Sure,
Mewatis are fiercely independent people who converted to Islam in the age of Muhammad Mahmud Ghaznavi when he came to India. So these are like, they have been a nuisance nuisance in the affairs of all the major dynasties of Delhi. So Balban had to deal with them. Then Lodhis had to deal with them. They are called Meos. They have a very unique culture of their own. So in the age of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, there was this Rajput called Konwar Somarpal, who converted and became Bahadur Khan Nihar, and he was given the Jagir of Mewat region, and he established the Khanzada Rajput dynasty of Mewat. So there are a lot of monuments in even Gurgaon, in even Sona, and all around this region, which have been established in the reign of Khanzada Rajputs. And these were like, they didn't believe in the supremacy and authority of any other power except from themselves. So Mewat there is this tiny small gaon called Kotla. So from where this dynasty originated. Now that you will not, if you go to that gaon, you will not even feel that this was the seat of establishment of a dynasty which ruled for roughly 150 years. But it still has the Tughlaq era mosque. It still has the remains of a fort. It still has the remains of the tomb of Bahadur Khan Nihar. You just move from there, you come across this Bauli that you were talking about. This Bauli was, nobody talks about its Bauli. We were just moving past Khet, and I just saw some structure, I just saw some stones. So as you know, Bauli is mostly underground and and it's not above the ground. So I just went to see, I thought it was some wall there. I just went to see, and there is a whole Lodi era, Tughlaq era Bauli which has existed at that range, and nobody talks about that Bauli. There are these chhatris which are lying around in the field of a place called Meoli, and nobody cares about those chhatris. Those chhatris are standing on their own. I will tell you a very interesting story. There is a gaon called Ghasera. So Ghasera में की story कोई medieval era की story नहीं है. There was a fort in Ghasera which was medieval age. The story is about independence. So in Ghasera during partition there was this refugee camp which was established for Muslims of Alwar and Bharatpur who were going to Pakistan. So Chaudhry Yasin Singh Meo, who was a very important pre-independence leader of Meos, who was a freedom fighter himself, he invited Mahatma Gandhi to those camps.
Yes, I remember that post when you shared it. Yes, that's a village. I was going to ask that question. In fact, that it's a village existed of Muslims that is still inhabited, and it is a special affiliation with Gandhiji.
Yeah, so Gandhiji came to that village and he requested the Muslims of Bharatpur and Alwar who were staying in those camps to stay back in India, and assured them that India will not become a Hindu nation, or the fear that was in the mind of public. It will be a secular nation. Your development will be taken care of. And these Muslims stayed back just on the word of Mr. Mahatma Gandhi, and they stayed back in Ghasera itself. So the spot on which Mahatma Gandhi gave his speech to these Muslims, the spot today has become the government senior secondary school of Ghasera.
And it was preserved in a very good manner.
Yeah. So they have even established a plaque there, marking the spot where Gandhiji gave their speech. But the irony of the situation is that Ghasera is still one of the most backward places in Mewat itself. So Mewat in itself is one of the most backward regions of Haryana. Haryana in itself is not very economically prosperous. So Mewat is one of the most backward regions of Haryana in terms of economy, and Ghasera is one of the most backward regions of Mewat. So it's an irony of that place. You move to Nuh. Nuh is one of the biggest. It's the biggest city of Mewat district. Nuh has a shaking minarets of Sheikh Musa. So those shaking minarets, if you just go on top of one of them, and a person who stands on the other minaret and he jumps in the minaret, you will feel the vibration in the second minaret. It has this interesting architectural feature. So they are
it's an
called
architectural
shaking.
feature, not due
Yeah,
to the situation.
no, it's not due to the situation.
It's in fact architectural. Yeah, I think shaking
Yes,
is because
yes.
of its condition. No. So
It
it's
was
itself it's known
deliberate.
as shaking minaret. Okay,
Yeah, it
really.
was deliberately done. It was done it was done deliberately. It is a part of that monument. So Mewat has all these monuments. I can go on and on about Haryana. Haryana is like a treasure trove of unseen, unknown monuments of India, which no one talks about
So
and no one knows about.
okay, Joydeep just asked. Thank you, Joydeep, for joining it, and nice to see you. Yes, we all are fine, and just listening a good stories from Ramin. So Ramin, there is an interesting connection of Rohilkhand with Meos or Mewatis. What
Okay,
happened during the 1760s? There was a famine in Mewat, and that forced a big number or big chunk of a population, because population get landless, or the farmers or the cultivators were perished due to this
okay,
famine. And situation definitely in that time neighboring Delhi was anarchic. There was a lot of intrusions and the up and down, sometimes Marathas, sometimes Afghans. So they seek a refuge in Rohilkhand, and it was Hafiz Rahmat Khan who gave a big bulk of Mewatis or Mews invited to Pilibhit. And,
oh
and they
wow,
were
wow.
appointed as a laborers in making the city walls, gates of the cities, and in fact in the making of Jama Masjid of Delhi. And some of them were Hindus and some of them were Muslims. But later on, 1820, one of the translations of Hafiz Rahmat Khan's biographical account by a commissioner of Bareilly, Charles Eliot, mentioned that till now the population has converted after the death of Hafiz Rahmat Khan. But the time when Hafiz Rahmat Khan
Okay,
gave them refugees, most of them were Hindu Mewatis. And still
okay,
this
okay.
Mewati community is living in Rohilkhand, and they used to give the name like Bahadur Khan and
Yeah,
Faulad Khan, and sometime like putting a
yeah,
name
yeah, yeah,
Khans with this, something like this.
yeah,
So
yeah.
this is
They
still
are very
interesting
interesting
connection.
people.
Yeah.
Very interesting
So,
people, indeed, indeed.
yes, Ramin. So anything else you
Yeah.
want to add it from Haryana?
So Haryana, if you want me to talk, I can talk about Gurgaon.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yes, definitely. Gurgaon,
uh,
yes, definitely. And Faridabad, if small chunks
yes,
of
yes.
Faridabad.
So Gurgaon and Faridabad, I wanted to talk about them because people, when you ask them what is Gurgaon and what is Faridabad, with Gurgaon they say it's a corporate hub, and with Faridabad they say it's an industrial hub.
Yes.
But these two cities, which have forgotten their own history itself, have a rich architectural and heritage past. So starting with Gurgaon, first of all, it has connections to Mahabharat itself, because Gurgaon name came from Guru Gram. Guru Gram came from Guru Dronacharya. So there are monuments related to Guru Dronacharya, like there is a Bhima Kund, there is an Eklavya temple, there is a Shitla Mata Mandir. Shitla Mata was supposed to be Kripa Bai, the wife of Guru Dronacharya. There are monuments related to Guru Dronacharya in Gurgaon. Moving to the medieval age, there are monuments related to Khanzada Rajputs in Gurgaon area. There is a small village which comes in Gurgaon today, which is called Bhondsi. And Bhondsi has a beautiful mosque and a tomb complex. And nobody is caring about it. It has these fluted domes. Nobody is caring about this. It has that mosque and tomb complex. There is this sector 137 of Gurgaon, which is called Sarai Allah Vardi Khan. Now
Sarai
Allah Vardi Khan,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
the Allah Vardi Khan was a Nawab from Bengal in
Yes,
the
Aligarh.
reign of Muhammad Shah Rangila.
Yes.
So now Nawab Allah Vardi Khan established a mosque in Gurgaon, and which was established for the pilgrims who were going from Delhi to Ajmer, so that they can stay. It was a sarai. There was a mosque in it. There was a bauli in it. There was all quarters in it. So the sarai doesn't exist. The mosque still exists, and it still falls in the sector 137 of Gurgaon. Coming to Begum Samru, I told you that Jharsa and Bahadurgarh were given as Jagirs to Begum Samru in the by British or by French. So there were monuments related to Begum Samru there. The palace of Begum Samru in that area today has become district collector's home.
Okay.
I told you. Yeah. I told you about Bashapur Fort itself. The Bashapur
yes.
Fort. Bashapur Fort has a bauli which is around 100 years old. Now that bauli was being filled up to make a modern road. And actually there is a school of architecture in Gurgaon which is called Sushant School of Architecture. The students of that place and the teachers of that place protested and saved that Baoli. So now, so that Baoli is 100 years old, nobody cares about it. It's all has mud and dirt in it, but at least it survives. I posted about it in on my social media handles. Gurgaon, if you move, there was a Dhauli Piao in Gurgaon, which was established in a Piao is something which is established for people to drink water from. So that for a traveler who is going from one place to another can stop at a Piao and drink. There are very richly created, architecturally rich Piaus in Haryana itself. There was a Dhauli Piao in Gurgaon, which was broken down to establish metro station in Haryana, in Gurgaon. So that Dhauli Piao was 500 years old. Moving on, you come to British era monuments in Gurgaon. There is in civil lines itself, there is a church which is around 150 years old. It is called Church of Epiphany. Inside it, there are these original wooden structures supporting the roof, and those are 150 years old. There is this sarai which was established by the district commissioner of Gurgaon in 1900s, and this sarai was called Kaun Sarai. The name of the commissioner was Kaun, Mr. Kaun something. It was called CAWN, Kaun Sarai. There are very few British era sarais surviving in India itself. So that sarai, nothing of that sarai remains. Only the gateway of that sarai remains. That sarai today the name has been changed from Kaun to Kaman Sarai. Nobody could pronounce Kaun probably, so they converted the name from Kaun to Kaman. So it is called Kaman Sarai today, and it is the district headquarter of Congress party today. So if you go there, वो गेटवे पे भी उन्होंने अपना वो लगा रखा है, फ्लैग लगा रखा है,
होर्डिंग लगा रखा है जी,
होर्डिंग लगा रखा है, कांग्रेस का ऑफिस है वो
जी जी.
So this is how
heritage has been treated. Yes, our heritage
has been treated in Gurgaon. People don't know about all these monuments of Gurgaon, and hence they just they think that Gurgaon is a millennium city. It is the corporate hub, but I can there are 10 to 12 monuments. There is a modern village inside called Wazirabad. Now Wazirabad has a massive fort in it, and that fort is in itself lived in by people, and people have chipping away places, chipping away bricks and chipping away structures from that fort, and nobody cares about it. So Gurgaon in itself is a monument hub if people know about it. Coming to Faridabad, I've taken a lot of time in Gurgaon itself.
Yes, Khalid Bhai has written some feedback. Yes, correct name is Ali Vardi Khan. Some people
it's Ali Vardi.
Ali Vardi Khan.
I was saying that the people call the name of the place has become Allah Vardi Khan.
Yeah, they mispronounce it, and it's from Ali Vardi Khan. And Kaun Sarai was built in 1925. Thank you, Khalid.
Indeed. Yes. It was built in 1925.
So can we go to Faridabad?
Faridabad is again a very interesting place called an industrial hub. But Faridabad in itself has Talpat, which is one of the 5 paths from Mahabharat. Sonipat, Panipat, Bagpat, Indrapat and Talpat. So Faridabad has connections from Mahabharat itself. Faridabad, the city, was many people believe wrongly was established in the name of Baba Farid Ganj Shakar, who was a Sufi saint. But it is not so much.
It is not so.
It was founded by Sheikh Farid, who was a very important noble in the reign of Jahangir, who was the governor of Punjab and Gujarat during the reign of Jahangir, and he established Faridabad on the imperial highway of Delhi to Agra, so that they can build a fort at that. A fort and a protection wall could be built to protect the highway.
Imperial capital.
So it was like an imperial stopover, you can say.
Yeah.
So on Delhi Agra highway. So Faridabad was founded by Sheikh Farid, and Sheikh Farid established a mosque in Faridabad. He established a Baoli, an Eidgah, Sarai. All was established by him. Unfortunately,
sorry for interrupting. These all are pre-Shahjahanabad phase when capital was shifted to Delhi. In fact, it was at that time capital was Agra.
Exactly.
So just to clarify our audiences.
Yes. So Delhi had, for a temporary period of time, lost its sheen. It was that period.
Yeah.
So Sheikh Farid founded the city. But even before Sheikh Farid, Faridabad has a place called Anangpur. Now, the founding of Delhi, the rise of Delhi to importance lies in that place, because that region, the Anangpur region, was the capital of Tomar Rajputs. And Tomar Rajputs were the ones who made this region the capital, and then eventually Chauhans took over, and then eventually the Sultanate took over, and Delhi came to its own golden age. But the starting of Delhi started from Anangpur, and Anangpur lies on the border of Delhi and Faridabad. So Anangpur has two monuments which are more than 1,000 years old. There is a Suraj Kund, which was established by Surajpal Tomar, and there is Anangpur Dam, which was established by Anangpal Tomar, and both of these monuments are more than 1,000 years old. And while Suraj Kund is beautifully preserved, and there is a Suraj Kund Mela happening every year in there. It's like a massive Roman amphitheater with all those massive bricks there, massive stones there. And Suraj Kund also finds mention in the age of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, who repaired Suraj Kund in his age. But Anangpur Dam is totally forgotten itself. So what happens is, since the dam, the top surface of dam is totally flat. So so the young bikers practice stunts on the surface of Anangpur Dam, which is 1,000 years old. It is in that sad state.
And that's why this heritage is also connected with Badarpur and all these zells of Delhi. That is now part of Delhi. But before, during the time of Punjab, these were the connected domains of these zells.
So with Badarpur, I will just come to it. To Badarpur. So these two places, Suraj Kund and Anangpur Dam, are both pre-Islamic era places which are preserved in Faridabad itself. So Faridabad has that much rich history. Now coming to the age of Muslims, the age of Mughals. So the imperial highway that used to go from Delhi to Agra to Delhi to Lahore had all these important sarais built for people to stay there. So Badarpur Sarai, which is on the border of Delhi and Faridabad, was established in that age, and it still has gateways remaining from the original gateways remaining. So as you might be knowing that there is a thing called Kos Minar, which was Kos Minar. Kos Minar is like a medieval milestone. So after every one Kos, a Kos is equal to 3.22 kilometers. They used to establish these Kos Minars, so that people, if they are going from one place to another, they could count the distance that they are going. So if a person has crossed 3 Kos Minars, he can be very sure that he has crossed 10 kilometers. So this region from border of Faridabad to inside of Faridabad has five existing Kos Minars today. And there were more Kos Minars before, but all of them have been lost. Coming to Faridabad itself, the old town of Faridabad, I told, still has the Jama Masjid of Faridabad remaining. It still has a mosque which was established in the reign of late Mughals, which was abandoned when the Muslims went away to Pakistan. So it today functions as a temple, and there is this Barahi Mata ka mandir. So Barahi comes from Varaha. Varaha was a Boer version of Lord Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu took birth in form of Varaha, the god Varaha. So Varahi Mata is the female version of Varaha. So there is this ancient temple called Barahi Mata ka mandir, which still exists there, which predates all the founding of Faridabad.
And also, any shrines in Faridabad, any Sufi shrines or any existed in Faridabad? I think
I couldn't find, in my exploration, I couldn't find a very old Sufi shrine in Faridabad, to be honest. The Eidgah of Faridabad used to exist in its original state till some years ago, but it has been rebuilt and it has become a proper mosque, and no longer is it an Eidgah. Because there is a very small Muslim community in Faridabad today.
And mostly migrated from other places, yes. The original
they are all
inhabitants have
migrants.
left, yes.
They are all migrants. They are not original inhabitants of Faridabad. There is a Khwaja Sarai bridge which was established in the reign of Jahangir in this region, which the locals call Budiya ka bridge, Budiya ka Pul, because the Nala which goes under it is called Budiya wala Nala. So that bridge is called Budiya wala Pul. So that bridge dates back to the reign of Jahangir. So thankfully ASI has preserved that bridge, and you can't, there is no heavy traffic going on it, and you can just walk over it, but there is no heavy traffic. So and adjacent to Faridabad, there is a place called Ballabgarh. Ballabgarh has another rich history of its own. The Raja of Ballabgarh was involved in the mutiny of 1857. The fort of Ballabgarh today functions as a police station. And there is a PIL going on in the court also to vacate that police station and the fort to be preserved. But there is a PIL going on. So if you could have just roughly counted, I could have told you about around 10 to 12 monuments in Faridabad itself, 10 to 12 monuments in Gurgaon itself. But people don't talk about it. The reason for that is also that there is no awareness. Awareness comes via literature. Awareness comes via mainstream media covering these monuments, and mainstream media hardly cover these monuments.
Yeah, very interesting feedback. I think somebody has written here. Today, the need of the hour is to generate an interest and curiosity among children and educational institutes through social media about the stories of these beautiful historical places. Yes, very, very rightly said, I think, Rami.
Absolutely. So my intention is also that whatever I can to raise the awareness of these monuments which nobody talks about. Because if nobody talks about them, nobody will go to them to see it. And when nobody will go to them to see it, the encroachers, the people who are just land grabbers, or people who are just simply poor, who don't have a chat to spend the night in, they will relocate to these monuments and they will make it their own. And like Badshahpur Fort, only the name will remain. So the Badshahpur किले का सिर्फ किले का नाम ही रह गया, Badshahpur किला नहीं रह चुका है. So eventually what will happen, all these monuments, so कमान सराय आज नाम exist करता है, कुछ टाइम बाद वो नाम भी exist नहीं करे, वो गेटवे भी exist नहीं करेगा, बस कमान सराय का नाम exist कर जाएगा. तो कांग्रेस का हेडक्वार्टर का एड्रेस में कमान सराय होगा, बट कमान सराय क्या होता था nobody will know, because nobody is talking about कमान सराय. And that's a tragedy that these monuments of Haryana, these monuments of Gurgaon and Faridabad face.
I think, I mean, only 10 minutes left because it will stop. So what I will do, because two questions are left and we will take some audience's question. So I will end this talk now and reconnect again.
Yeah.
So instead we will interrupt it in between. So we will be having a relaxation of time. So just shortly we are connecting it again. And then we will continue our talk and taking the questions from our friends also if they have any questions.
We request our friends to also stay with us because we will have more discussions on.
Yeah, we have some more discussions like 20 to 30 minutes maximum. But we have left only with the two questions and some discussions and interactions from the side of the audiences and friends if they have. Okay?
Absolutely.
So let me finish it and again reconnecting it. Okay.
Sure.